Hello everybody. Today I'm going to show a really brief overview of a use case using the Truvera platform for verifiable credentials of how you can interact with government services using custom credentials. And here, in order to show how smooth and easy it can be, we generated a really basic front end using one of these AI code generators that shows an example of the city of Roosevelt Springs. And they're going to issue a custom credential, a residency credential. So this isn't part of the national government. This is a local credential they're just going to use for the local purposes. And here we've come to the city website, and we're logged in as an active employee, and a resident is standing in front of us and asks for the resident credentials. So in this example, we're generating it. We're doing our identity proofing in person. Of course, we can customize this based on the real world needs of the organization that wants to use this. But we have instructions to the employee that they can issue this digital residence credential after they've checked the identity of the resident or the applicant. And they've also checked that the applicant has some paper documents, a rental contract or a property title in the applicant's possession. And of course, that can be automated or customized as well as the ecosystem grows, as more participants in the flow start using digital credentials. But for this example, we're trying to show how easy it is to insert these credentials into an existing legacy workflow. So you don't have to do everything at once. We can modernize workflows piece by piece. So in this example on the right, I have my wallet. Let's say I'm the resident here. And here, we can verify mobile driver's license credentials, ISO compliant credentials that come from a national government. But for a demo, I'm not issuing a credential that comes from the government. I just created a fake one here. So we're calling this MDL clone. The fields are the same as you'd find in a real credential. And I'm using a similar standard where it supports similar features, where it doesn't do selective disclosure. It doesn't do the advanced privacy that our custom credentials do. So here we have in a fake birthday, a fake document number, those kind of things, and it's issued by the reliable jurisdiction of West Dakota Division of Identity. For those who aren't American, there's no state of West Dakota. So we've come in here and we enter. We verified, we've looked at the phone, but there's no way to know this is real by looking at the user's device. It could be faked, it could be a fake app, it could be a screenshot. So here we come up and say we want to verify this credential, and we're going to do the MDL clone verification. And here we get a QR code, and we ask the applicant to scan that QR code. And now the applicant's approving sharing that information. Of course, this experience is going to differ based on the wallet you're using to check that mobile driver's license. We do support the W3C standard for the digital credentials API. So we're able to pull mobile driver's licenses out of the Apple Wallet or the Google Wallet, or I expect the Samsung Wallet will support it soon. But you could also pull out of the national, out of the national wallets, whatever app they're storing that MDL in. We can build a verifier QR code that allows you to get that information out. But now the employee of the city, they see this credential is verified. They see the data. It's coming through their trusted system. They don't have to trust the applicant's phone. And so they're able to know, oh yes, this is in fact the correct information. So that's great. So we go ahead and copy that in here. And then we check that rental contract, and we see that this applicant is in fact has a rental, is a resident. They have a rental agreement, and we can default that expiration date to 5 years, or we can look at the rental agreement and say, oh wait, this agreement, it expires in just 1 year. So let's go ahead and pick that updated expiration. You can see that this UI I built fairly quickly. So let's say for convenience, it expires at the end of the year. So that's great. And then we put in a password in order to make sure that the QR code that's generated can only be read by the applicant in front of us. Nobody's going to look over their shoulder. So we put in a password here, and we give it to the applicant. And we go ahead and issue that credential. We don't need the password manager to run. We put in the password, and now we've generated the credential for the resident. And we can show them our screen, and the resident can go ahead and scan this QR code with their city app. Now, this mobile wallet I showed, it can be embedded into an existing application. So if you already have an app for dealing with the city, then the resident doesn't have to know they're downloading an identity wallet. They can just be downloading the city app that happens to also store a residency credential. So we'll go ahead here and enter our password to get that credential. And now we've imported that credential into our wallet. And of course, this user experience can be customized. But now when we come back to the main screen, we can see that we have that digital residency credential issued with the address that came off of our rental contract and with the expiration date at the end of the year. And it comes from the city of Roosevelt Springs and is part of that government services ecosystem. So now let's do something with this credential. I could verify the credential by the city if I wanted to, but we've also got a set of departments. So I can use this credential to enroll in school. I can use it to set up my trash and recycling pickup. But in this example, I'm going to use it to get a library card. So here I've got the library card screen. I'm logged in as a library employee. I'm a different employee at this point. And the employee has their instructions. They shouldn't issue a library card without verifying the patron's legal name off of their government document and their residency status off of the city residency credential. So I'll go ahead and verify that MDL just like we did a moment ago. And of course, in real life, that MDL would come out of the government wallet, or it could be stored in Truvera if the government approved that, depending on the specifics. But we'll go ahead and check that legal information, the legal name here, and prove that going across the API so the library gets that information in a trusted way. And we can see it takes about 10 seconds for the government website to pull. We can design that to pull immediately, but like I said, this demo interface I just built in an afternoon, so I didn't build all those kind of details to pull the information off a webhook, for example. But here we can check that information. That's all great, and we see that the form with the patron information now has been automatically filled with the information that came off of that mobile driver's license. Now we'll go ahead and check that residency status. Now, I did this as two different scans, two different QR codes, because I wanted to show that if you're pulling the driver's license out of a different application using the digital credential API, I might be pulling the driver's license out of Google Wallet and then pulling the residency credential out of the city app. If you're pulling all the credentials from the same app, you can do that with a single QR code. And we'll go ahead and, the library doesn't need to know my address. They just need to know that the city's approved me. So we could have the library ask for minimal information and not ask for that address. But I'm going to withhold the address just to show that we support advanced privacy selective disclosure here. So we'll go ahead and share just my name and that the expiration date of the credential. So we have that residency status shared. So that again, it goes across the city, the library's website now receives that information over the API and is able to tell the librarian that yes, the residency is valid, and takes just 10 seconds or so for it to pull for that information. Like I said, in production, we configure the inbound webhook for that. But here we can see the legal name, the expiration date. We can see that the address wasn't sent over. So we had that additional privacy. So that's great. So, and that residency status has now been verified. And now I can issue that library card. I don't have to charge the residency fee because the non-resident fee, because they show that they were a resident. And we can go ahead and issue that password to make sure nobody else can see the credential. Tell the password manager not to store that password. And we'll go ahead and scan that QR code, enter that password, and import the credential. And now we've got the library card alongside our residency credential in our wallet. And next time we come back to check out a book, we could come up and use the library's website in order to verify that library card credential. So we can verify that digital library card here. We'll go ahead and share that across and see that I have a valid library card and allow the patron to check out their books. So of course, this can be customized based on the specifics of your experience. There are all sorts of ways we can do that. In fact, let me show you how easy it is to build this sort of solution in the Truvera, on the Truvera platform. So this is the Truvera workspace. This is the developer console that is used to build these kind of solutions. We'll go ahead and hide my phone, let you see the whole thing. So in here, we have a tenant that's set up an ecosystem for government services. And in this example, the government has outsourced this to an identity solutions developer. We call them Identity Clarity in this example. And they've added to the ecosystem, the city is an issuer, the library is an issuer, and these other, the school is a verifier, the trash and recycling firm is a verifier. And each of these we can manage what exactly they're allowed to do. So for instance, the trash recycling company, they can only check that you're a resident or check that MDL clone. But the city of Roosevelt Spring, or the library, they can issue the library card, but they can't issue the resident credential. That can only be done by the city. So here we can manage who can do what in the ecosystem. And of course, if we switch to be the ecosystem administrator, we could kick out organizations that weren't behaving properly. We can exclude them from the ecosystem. And there's the governance framework, the rules that govern how the ecosystem is managed. And we have the different credentials in here. And we can lock these credentials so they can only be viewed by people who are already in the ecosystem if we chose. And that can be nice for managing, ensuring that credentials are only verifiable by people who will respect the privacy of those credentials. We could also, if we chose, add a fee to credentials so that we can charge verifiers. Some of our customers have said even for a government that might make sense to help fund specific programs. But in this example, everything's free to the resident and to the relying parties that are using these credentials. But we want to make sure that it's locked to the ecosystem so that only trusted parties can see the information. So with that setup of the ecosystem, we can then come in and issue a credential that's going to meet the needs. So here's that city resident credential. We can see the schema. We can design our own schemas. It's all point and click here in the interface. And we can go ahead and issue that. Now, a number of our customers have said they really like being able to generate a PDF that gets created alongside the credential. That could be nice for giving the resident in this example, the credential holder, something more traditional alongside their digital credential. We're not going to do that for this example, though. And we could manually create this credential if we were standing, if we didn't want to create that front end. We could manually issue that credential. We can manually manage the expiration as I showed, and we can do that issuance. And we could pick who's going to be the issuer of the credential depending on the rules in the ecosystem. And then, of course, we can do manual verification as well. We go ahead and check that library card. You see I've done some testing in this example. But we can see that history of the library card, where it was verified. Of course, once we've pulled that information to our systems, we can delete this history from Truvera. Truvera doesn't need to store any of that information longer than necessary in order to hand it to us. So those are the key parts of the interface. Now, if we come back to that library card credential, maybe I haven't paid my fee and my library card's been revoked. So we can go ahead and do that revocation. And as soon as I hit this revoke button, as soon as it's been saved by the system, the revocation registry, the public registry, it's a privacy preserving registry. You can't see which credentials were revoked. But once that's been updated, the credential can't be used any longer. If you try to verify with that credential, the verification is going to fail, the cryptography will fail. But if I shrink this to show my wallet on the right, it takes about 90 seconds for the wallet to update. And of course, that's configurable in a customized app. But any second here, we'll see that this library card becomes revoked. I should have talked another 10 seconds. Oh, there it goes. So we see that library card gets the revocation badge. Now, if we want to go in to the ecosystem administration, perhaps one of the trash provider, we've changed the trash provider. And so here we come to the overall ecosystem that's administered by Identity Clarity. And you can see we have multiple ecosystems that Identity Clarity is administering. We can come in and exclude now the recycling company. We can remove them from the ecosystem, and the credential, they're no longer be able to verify that information. And similarly, we could change who's allowed to issue, or we could suspend issuance for a period of time. So you can see from this demo that the platform Truvera can do all the things you'd expect a verifiable credential platform can do, but it can do it all nice point and click in the interface. Of course, you can download the API keys and then integrate those into a front end like we showed in order to have that issuance happen automatically or that verification happen in a custom front end. And of course, it can be done in an automated workflow as well. So we try to make it really easy to build these solutions, to learn about the verifiable credentials, and of course to customize it for your specific use case. Of course, if you have any questions, we would love to meet with you, walk you through the details of how to build this, help you build your own solution, and make sure that you can help your users, your customers to be able to benefit from the coming wave of digital identity. I look forward to talking to you.